Lamar Jackson officially requested a trade, and we're talking about the Ravens MVP quarterback once again. Requested a trade March 2nd, and we heard nothing about this. I think this is a direct correlation back to a big-time player not having an agent at all, let alone even having a big-time agent. And now a lot of questions are circling the league around trade packages. It's not really surprising, I feel like, that Lamar requested a trade, because this just basically says, hey, they're not seeing my value, which is exactly what he said in the tweet. I'm pissed about it, and I got to do what's right for me. So we kind of all knew this. Lamar just confirmed it for us. But would you say now, Justin, that the Ravens are mishandling Lamar with this news never getting out and really no kind of traction behind Lamar's request almost a month ago?
It's weird. It depends on how you see mishandling it, because it's clear I don't think the Ravens want to trade him per se. They just don't want to give him what he thinks his value is. So
Right.
for the trade not getting out, it suits their purposes, because they're basically saying, well, yeah, we kind of franchise tagged you with the non-exclusive,
Yep.
basically saying we're going to let somebody else do our work for us in terms of the contract.
Yep.
So if somebody forces our hand, fine. But otherwise, is this contract? It's either that you play, on the tagged conditions, or that's just it. But we are not
Yeah.
really looking to trade you. So I don't think it's a situation where Baltimore mishandled not getting his trade situation out there, because when you heard John Harbaugh speak yesterday, it's clear in his mind, and I don't know how management sees it, that
Right.
John Harbaugh wants Lamar Jackson to be his quarterback. They
Oh,
brought
yeah.
in an offensive coordinator to
Right.
suit Lamar Jackson's style of play. They're making moves with the intent that Lamar Jackson is going to play. So
Right.
I think it's more of a situation where Lamar is concerned that the contract details and what they're offering does not suit what he wanted. He thought it's disrespectful. And that goes to your
Right.
point of not having an agent, because when you hear people talk,
Major.
they always say have an agent, because the things that you're going to hear in these discussions are going to
Yep.
come across personal, and they really
Yep.
aren't. It's just business.
Yep.
But before I let you hop back in here, sorry, Adam, the
No,
whole
you're good.
thing,
Hey, it's a podcast, bro. That's what we do. We talk.
the whole thing that for me, right? I will say, if this was Ozzie Newsome, right, the guy
Uh-huh.
who would have drafted Lamar Jackson, I think Lamar Jackson was drafted in Ozzie Newsome's last year as general manager of the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
If this
32nd
was,
pick.
yep, if this was Ozzie Newsome, right, this deal would have been done. Simply because, as a general manager, you kind of feel a personal connection to the people that you draft.
Yeah.
So the Baltimore general manager right now did not draft Lamar Jackson. So he doesn't feel that personal connection to
Yeah.
get this done. If Ozzie Newsome were here, we'd not be talking this at all.
Yeah, and I like how you allude to the GM as well, because Eric DeCostas, I think right when they placed the franchise tag on him, the non-exclusive, and people figured that could come in a year. DaCosta was saying what he was supposed to say, and I had said it in the past. He believes that they have good faith that negotiations are going to get done. They're going to be able to come to a deal for him. They've had players in the past get tagged before. They want to see Lamar Jackson. They want to build around him, and they want him to be the guy to take them to the Super Bowl. Clearly, the goal of any NFL team. And for anyone that wants a little context on what Lamar actually was saying on Twitter this morning, or I think it was yesterday, excuse me, as the news broke, a letter to my fans. I want to first thank you all for all of the love and support you consistently showed towards me. All of you are amazing, and I appreciate y'all so much. I want you all to know not to believe everything that you read about me. Let me personally answer your questions in regards to my future plans. As of March 2nd, he requested a trade, and the Ravens, for which the Ravens have not been interested in meeting my value. Clearly, we know that. I just want to put the context out there for everyone that wants to know how Lamar is actually reacting to all this. And ironically, he drops these tweets as John Harbaugh is having, I think, the conversation that you were mentioning there, Justin. So it's definitely some emotion. Again, it's kind of like with Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of hometown things tied up in this. He's already drafted late in the draft. He was kind of doubted in college. Now he doesn't want to get paid. So it's kind of all coming to the surface now for Lamar. Again, we knew that, but things are just finally, rearing their ugly head, I guess, if you could call it. So he says the Ravens didn't want to meet his value, and any and everyone around me knows that I love football, and his dream is to help a team win the Super Bowl. You all are great, but I had to make a business decision that was best for my family and I. No matter how far I go or where my career takes me, I'll continue to be close to my fans of Baltimore, Flock Nation, and the entire state of Maryland. You'll see me again. The last part is kind of what doesn't sit right with me, because if you have to, well he backed it up. I guess it's just the way I think about it is NFL players, like, they make so much money, right? And I get it. It was like when Zeke held out. It's like when these certain players hold out. You're not going to get that big of a payday again. So Lamar is making a family decision. But then for you to circle right back around and say, hey, this isn't the last that you guys will see of me, of course, because he might come back there and play as an opponent. But you can tell again, it's emotional. He wants to be with the home roots, and I wish they could both work it out. I think the league is better with Lamar Jackson as a Raven. I don't know what team could even make a move for him, and we're going to get into that in a second. But it's tough to say, like you said, because what is actually mishandling? And to me, Lamar mishandled himself and the situation by not hiring an agent. Again, I said it. When a big time player hires a big time agent, you get big time money. And Lamar Jackson would probably have a top 3 to 5 contract in the league right now and be one of the highest paid players ever because of what he's done on the field, right? But to also know, and again, this does go back to the agent, but for there to be absolutely no news out about how Lamar wants a trade. Like none. We didn't even hear a peep. This is the first we're hearing of this. That is, I'm I don't know if it's necessarily a rubbing the wrong way thing, but the NFL and sports in general, right? News gets out when you need it to. News gets out when you want it to. Clearly, what we're doing on the show is because of the news that breaks. For not a snippet of this to get out, it's very, very, very odd because if a very polarizing figure like Aaron Rodgers in the middle of his career can basically go on a live show and say what's going on between him and the Packers and the Jets, why can we not get just a small nugget of information? And that's where, in a way, it kind of feels like a disservice to Lamar because he could have been already inked with another team. We're talking, it is now March 28th, about 7:15 on the East Coast. Lamar requested this trade 3.5 weeks ago. We're coming up on a month. I feel like a lot really could have happened. I mean, think of the things that have happened in the last 3.5 weeks. The number one pick was traded. The combine happened. Anthony Richardson's got crazy hype. Some people are out on Will Levis. Like, so much has happened in this last 3.5 weeks. And now we're just not figuring out. Now, again, as much as I'm sitting up here saying this, that, and a third, it could have been placed that way, right? It's meant to happen just a month before the draft. We're going to have some draft predictions coming up on the show. But having said all that, it does feel like a mishandle for Lamar Jackson because a lot could have shaked up. A lot could have happened for him, maybe in a good way. He could have already been inked to something. So it is, again, some.
So that
Go ahead.
that goes back to your point, Adam, again about the agent. So what a lot of people don't realize, right, whether you like him or not, Adam Schefter basically gets a lot of his news via
Oh,
agents.
yeah.
And if you
Athletes don't
don't
have
believe
time to
that,
talk the way that Shefty reports.
and all you have to realize is where his information comes is to look at the angle in which he takes certain reports. And then you can tell always that this comes from player agents.
Right.
And for whatever reasons, whether you want to shape a player a particular way or you want to put pressure on an organization. And had Lamar had an agent, I am sure that that agent would have leaked
For
something to
sure.
Adam Schefter by now, Mike Florio,
For
somebody,
sure.
Ian Rappaport, and it would have put pressure on either the Baltimore Ravens or let organization like Indianapolis
Yeah.
Colts, I'm tipping my hand already, know about his availability.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put this on Lamar Jackson because I still do believe that Baltimore is making a huge mistake
Yeah.
that's not opening the back of a big truck for
Yep.
him. But I think, like you said, not having an agent,
It's
because in
killing
those
him.
meetings, it is killing him because in those meetings, right, things are going to be said, right, that players are not involved in. And when you
Exactly.
hear it firsthand as a player,
Mm-hmm.
it is going to come across as personal. As you
Mm-hmm.
said, Lamar is taking this very personally.
Yep. Yep, 100% agree. And before we move off this and talk about potential teams, and we've kind of talked about it before, but a trade shakes up everything, right? Well, really, just a couple more things. So to also know that the collusion, was an actual topic within these last 3.5 weeks, and then also knowing that piggybacking off the agent, Lamar is now using, I think what they said is like a non-licensed agent to basically reach out to the NFL teams and see if they have an interest in Lamar. And it's just, the more this goes along, the more Lamar is just not handling this very well from a PR standpoint. And then he even says, oh, yeah, by the way, check me out on my fan page website. You're an NFL player, dude. You're not a motivational speaker with a fan page website. Like, you're a unanimous MVP, So it's not a very sexy play. Let's keep in mind he's about to turn 26. I think he already is 26 years old, but he's a younger player, so he's still got a lot to learn. This is going to be a part of Lamar's career, no question about it. But it's Very odd, for sure. I've enjoyed this NFL offseason, though. We've had a lot of quarterback drama. We've had a lot of mix-ups. We've had a lot of trades, and this is just another thing that's going to add to it. So with Lamar now saying, I want out of Baltimore, it seems like the Baltimore days are over, right? And just the more this goes on and on, I said it last week, I don't think Lamar is going to be a Raven by the time this year starts. So what teams, if any, should pursue Lamar Jackson now that this situation is the way it is? Because let's remember, Justin, whatever team is going to pay for him, the Ravens automatically get 2 firsts. And that's because of that non-exclusive tag that they placed on him to take Lamar from that 45 a year to a little over 30. Do you have any teams that should take a chance on Lamar now in this situation?
Any team not named the Kansas City Chiefs or the Los Angeles Chargers or the Buffalo Bills. Like every single, like what is the soft market for Lamar Jackson is the most puzzling thing I have ever seen in the entire NFL. And this just shows me what I've known all along.
Yeah.
NFL front offices are incompetent, Adam. Like absolutely incompetent. You have an in his prime, as you mentioned, MVP. Basically saying I no longer want to play for Baltimore. I can understand before the trade request was known that you're figuring, all right, I'm going to stay away from this because basically I'm just doing Baltimore's work for them.
Yep.
Whatever contract I do, like Baltimore is just going to match. So I can understand prior to that.
I didn't even think about it.
But in a situation where when you're telling yourself, I can go in the draft for an unproven quarterback like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or Will Levis, or I am going to, let's look at New York. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent, right? Adam, let's look at New York. New York is going after, and I'm glad I'm here to talk about this. New York is going after a 39-year-old quarterback who has
who's due to make $60 million this year.
$60 million guaranteed. Like, no matter what happens, he's getting $60 million guaranteed. He has flirted with retirement for the last 2 years. And you are willing to give up draft capital. You are willing to hire Nathaniel Hackett. You are willing to sign Allen Lazard to bring this man who is likely going to be a 1-year, 2-year rental instead of going after Lamar Jackson. Like, this is absolutely insane, Adam. This is the height of incompetence. I do not understand every team that does not have Patrick Mahomes, that does not have Joe Burrow, that does not have
Josh Allen,
Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. I am picking up the phone and I'm calling. 2 first-round picks could mean absolutely nothing for me, Adam. If I am going to get an in his prime MVP quarterback, are you kidding?
Yeah, I know what you mean about the soft market for Lamar. And so
before you continue, one more thing.
You're good.
I have to talk Washington too. Washington has not been above 500 in any of the 3 years that Ron Rivera has been there.
Right.
Since 2018, I have to look here, right? Since 2018, Washington has used 12 different starting quarterbacks. And they have come out on record as saying they're going to roll the dice with Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
I think Washington's going to be a very sneaky draft move, bro. I think Washington's going to potentially turn some heads on draft night. I don't know what they're going to do, but like you said, they can't believe that they're rolling with Sam Howell. Here's my thing with you talking about the Jets. If the Jets, because so with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, it's the trade compensation. Then they have to ask a guy who was 90% retired going into the darkness if he's willing to take a $60 million pay cut. So that's going to be a whole nother thing within itself. And my thing is, if you're willing to go through that much trouble for a guy that's 13, 14 years past the age of Lamar Jackson, pay Lamar that money and let Aaron walk. I'm one of the few people that says the Jets should run from Aaron Rodgers. The writing is on the wall for me. I've said it as many different ways I can say it. The Jets should not go for him. So I'm right there with you. A couple teams that I could see. So one, I did say the Jets. Two, the one I'd really love to see is Miami, man. I hate that they just lost Mike Gesicki, but Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Mike McDaniel clearly was doing things with Tua. And to know that Tua was on pace for a very good season before the injury happened and before the concussions really had him caught up. I mean, I feel like Miami instantly becomes the most the most exciting team in the league to watch. You have 3 of probably the fastest players in the NFL all on the same side of the ball. I know I'm kind of, getting caught up in what it really could be, but we know If they were doing what they did last year with Tua and they were fighting in the playoffs with Skylar Walker or Skylar Thompson, whoever it was, I know for a fact that Lamar Jackson could really make them a thing. I'm not going to bite on the Falcons. People say the Colts, but I mean, what's in Indianapolis, really? Like the Colts they're going to pick a quarterback. People are saying they're locked on CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. I hope to God they don't take a chance on Will Levis because that is Frank Reich's type of, guy for the build and the way he plays and everything. So if I had to say it again, it would be New York. It would be Miami. I would say San Fran. I think that'd be really nice. But I mean, just about just about any quarterback I feel like would look good with San Francisco. But yeah, this Lamar Jackson. Go ahead. You're good.
Could you imagine Lamar Jackson in Detroit? I didn't think about it until Bart Scott mentioned it today, right? Could you imagine him behind arguably one of the top 3 offensive lanes that the Detroit Lions currently have?
Yeah.
With a skill position group that has DeAndre Swift, and then on the outside, you're looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
With Lamar Jackson.
Jameson Williams hasn't even arrived yet either.
With Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. So now you're worried about the run threat with him and DeAndre Swift. And then behind that, oh my gosh, like you have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, two wide receivers who do so much after the catch. Like, oh my gosh. And that was a team that finished with an above 500 record with, oh my God, why are names killing me right now? Like, with Jared Goff.
Because we talk about so damn many.
With Jared Goff as quarterback. So then replace Jared Goff, put in Lamar Jackson in an NFC North that will no longer have Aaron Rodgers. Woo!
Yeah. Yeah, that would be wild. I didn't even really imagine Lamar being in Detroit, but I mean, talk about a big media city that would embrace him. Amon-Ra's a guy that continues to get praise. Imagine if they still had Jamal Williams. Hey, I'm happy my Saints have him. Don't get me wrong. But imagine a Jamal Williams and a DeAndre Swift with a Lamar Jackson. Of course, it's a lot of imagining. What if they still had TJ Hawkinson? Like that would be a very, very attractive arrival for sure. But y'all get in the chat. Let us know. I actually don't have any comments for the show yet, but it's all good. We got quite a few viewers, so no worries. But let us know what y'all think about the Lamar Jackson trade request. Kind of saw it coming. He's just confirming everything we've been speculating on the show and on multiple talk shows in the world.